In sports, if you want to be the best, there are no off days.
Welcome into the No Off Days podcast. He is Chris Cato, and I am Scott Smith. And is the T-shirt selection inspired by our game that we had last week?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Did I not wear this one?
That's old. That's old.
Yeah,
it's
an old T-shirt. Can't you smell it? Yeah, it's from
read it to the good
it's
people.
from last year. Well, it's a quote from Clark. And see, I didn't do well in our little game last week.
You did fine.
I didn't do well. I thought we would mostly be.
I'm the one that called him Uncle Eddie.
Well,
we've all done cousin that. Eddie.
You know, so it's the part where, you know, Eddie's obviously on Clark's last nerve at the big Christmas dinner, and he's pestering Clark, and Clark just kind of says, "Can I get you some more eggnog? Get you something to eat? Drive you out to the middle of nowhere and leave you for dead?" You know, one of those lines that we love, and it's got the
classic
moose.
Chevy Chase.
It's got the little moose. They put their eggnog in that.
There you go. Yeah. So welcome into this week's show. We have a lot to get to, Chris, and so we're not going to waste too much time on it because we have more playoff talk to get to. We kind of laid out the bracket last week, but this week we're actually going to go check some of our work, and we're going to do that momentarily. Let's bring BK in. Brian, you know, what was this? A few months ago, just like we do with everything, we give predictions and sometimes we actually bring the receipts, and so that's what we're doing on today's show. And are you happy to see us squirm just a little bit?
Well, I've taken a little peek at it. I mean, y'all did pretty well, man. So you have nothing to be ashamed about. Honestly, you've done better than other, experts I've seen out there.
So-called experts.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there were some teams that were gimmies, and I feel like I probably got those, and there were some that none of us saw coming.
Yeah, I think for one, I think just about every team or every, I would say 80%, 80 to 90% of all of the people that did like a playoff bracket, they had to have Florida State in there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everybody was thinking Florida State, like they've got to crack the top 12. Yeah. I mean, if they don't win the ACC, they're going to lose in the championship game or something like that. And here they go week one, and everybody's just like, wait, what team is this? There goes my bracket challenge. That'd be fun if there was an actual bracket challenge like there was.
Or like a survivor pool. Imagine that, and you had Florida State as your first weekend out of the gate. Whoops.
Wow. So we're going to check our work, but we also have a couple great conversations to get to. Who do we have on today's show?
We got a friend, Matt Baker, a super nice guy. I don't know if you guys have met him before. A super nice guy. He used to work for Tampa Bay Times. He's now with The Athletic. Guy knows college football, so why not bring him on here? Because we love college football. And then we'll have to bring in a guest picker. It was kind of foreshadowing a couple weeks ago when TJ Reeves came on here and said this person is just an absolute.
Came highly recommended.
Oh, yes.
I had never heard of her before.
I have not either.
Until TJ mentioned this person's name.
I have not. It's Kelly.
Did that name ring a bell?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Kelly Ring. She's coming out here. I'm excited. In studio. How cool is that?
When you're retired, could I bring you back on the podcast?
Me?
I mean, I'm going to work until I die.
When I'm retired.
When you're retired, would you come back on? Either one of you.
Don't bother me.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
What, next week, right?
I'll tell you this. When Brian retires, nobody's talking. He's not going to – there will be no communication.
He will disappear.
He will be in the woods somewhere.
What was that town in Missouri?
Mowing some lawns. He's going to have his Mowing Lawns YouTube page going. I mean, he'll be making like 4 times what he makes now and be like, guys, jackpot. This is what I'm doing now.
Oh, I hope he gets there.
It's wonderful.
Not too soon, though, Brian.
Okay. And then at the end of the show?
At the end of the show for the last time this year, how about a little Nodpod Gazette?
Let's go.
Okay.
The last edition. Can you believe it? Last edition of 2024.
Still printed out.
Wow.
It's a wonderful thing. All right, Nodpod Gazette heading your way at the during the fun block. All right, catch up with you in a moment here, BK. If you are listening and you want to watch, go to fox13news.com/Nodpod. If you're watching and you want to listen or subscribe, take out your phone, zap the QR code on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You can find all of our shows right there. Please subscribe. Leave a 5-star review, fox13news.com/Nodpod. All right, so it's time to bring back what we had predicted at the beginning of the football season and our playoff. You have your playoff bracket?
My shameful bracket is here, yes, in front of me.
All right, so here's kind of a quick outline. And I figure, just like everything we do, it has to be competitive. So who got the closest?
We have to declare a winner.
Who had the better bracket?
Yeah.
All right, just on its face, we each got half of the bracket correct.
6.
We each got 6 correct. So your 6 would be?
Georgia. Ohio State.
Yep.
Clemson. Oregon. Notre Dame. Penn State.
Okay. Yeah.
And those were, again, kind of the slam dunks, I feel like.
Fairly, although I had 6, but mine were just a little bit different. I had Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame. But I actually seeded Notre Dame correctly. I seeded them 7th. So had the committee just listened to me back then,
they would have had to go through this.
We didn't even have to play the season.
Was that the only one that we got the exact seed correct on?
So.
I think so.
I believe so. What you also got correct, you got one of the byes correct. And that would be what, Georgia?
Yes.
All right. You had them as a bye.
I did as the 1 seed. But they're the 2 seed, correct?
Yeah,
in
you didn't get the
bracket.
seeding right, but you at least got them as a bye. So I'm trying to give you some points there, some flowers.
I don't need your help.
I got 2 correct, 2 byes correct, so that puts me probably a little bit in front.
I think you're ahead. Yes.
You got 3 out of the SEC. That was actually one of your big claims that I had trouble getting on board with because I thought they're expanding to a 12-team playoff. Surely they're going to get more than 3
and I
SEC
think
teams.
that is why we should declare me the winner of this. Who else would have the gumption to say only 3 SEC teams are getting in?
Well, something gump. That's what you are. All right, and then you also got 2 ACC teams correct.
Yeah.
So you got those 2 correct. I got 2 ACC teams correct, and then I got the 1 Big 12 team correct.
You did get the Big 12
so
team correct.
You missed on Big 10. You said there was going to be 3. There was actually 4.
Wait, you didn't get the Big 12 team correct.
Not the. I didn't get the big. I said number of.
Oh, the number.
The number of teams from that conference.
All right,
gotcha. Are you following me now? Okay.
Yeah, I think you're just.
You follow me, camera guy?
I think you're trying too hard here.
I am trying extremely.
You've
hard.
already. I mean, I think we can declare you the winner just based on the fact that you seeded Notre Dame correctly.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But I wanted to go a little bit further because I want to stretch this segment out a little bit more. All right. So of your misses, okay, you had 6 misses. Okay, I ranged them close misses, mid misses, and big misses. Okay?
Don't call me a big misses.
All right. Listen, big misses. All right. Your close miss, I got 1 close miss, and it's Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Suitably.
Can we call it a narrow miss?
Well, it's an Ole Miss.
Okay.
It's a close miss, and they came in at 14, so they just missed out on the post. Your mid miss, I got Missouri. They're a mid miss. They weren't really in the thing the last couple of weeks.
Miss. Let's call them.
They finished 19th. Okay, that's
right.
not a big miss. Your big misses are Utah, Kansas State, Liberty. And the biggest whiff of all of them is Florida State, of course. So you have 4 big misses. I have 2 close misses. So I have Bama and Miami. They finished 11 and 13.
You would have had the Bama Penn State seeding right, correct? Or you would have had the matchup right if Bama.
That would have been it would have been beautiful. They screwed it up.
Slam dunk.
I had it going too. My mid miss is Texas A&M. I had them, but I should have listened to you. You said that Texas A&M game is going to be a playing game.
I said that,
and I thought, well, I don't know. I can't think that deeply about anything. And so, no.
But did you see what I did? I didn't put either one of them in my playoff.
You didn't.
I said it's going to be a
play-out game. That's what you said. All right, and then my big misses were FSU, Utah, and Liberty.
Wow,
so
where was our faith in Liberty so high?
Well, because they were playing nobody, and they just weren't they undefeated the year before.
Right.
And so we thought, what are they playing in the Conference USA?
Right.
I don't think anybody – I mean, Boise was on the radar. Boise was one of those teams. They could run the Mountain West. But you just think that there's a couple more quality teams in the Mountain West that you're probably going to come away with a couple losses. I thought that G5 school had to be an undefeated team probably. Mm-hmm. That most likely that was what was going to get you up the rankings.
And I think Boise has gotten a lot of credit for their very close loss to Oregon. That's their only loss.
And that was one thing that we overlooked because they actually had quality opponents out of conference. So should have seen that coming. Between the two of us, we've talked enough playoffs. I think it's time to bring in someone that we could deem an expert.
Someone that knows what
someone
they're
that knows
talking about?
Yes, someone that knows what they're talking about. He's an alum of the Tampa Bay Times, now reporting for The Athletic. He's canvassing the college football landscape, and what a better time to do it than right now. He is Matt Baker. Matt, thank you for joining us and being part of our little podcast here. All right, so right out of the gates, if I appointed you committee chair of the college football playoff, congratulations for quite the honor here. What changes are you trying to implement right away? If it's up to you, and we always say this for like a presidential nominee, right?
Good.
What are you going to do day one?
Day one in office.
What does Matt Baker do day one?
Well, thanks for having me. So I think one of the issues that I see is just the kind of the details of the bracket. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but I don't like the reason why the Bulls are so involved in it, right? The beauty of college football is the on-campus environment where it's 100,000 people, 80,000 people, whatever it is, and they're nuts, and it's an electric feel, and it's not what it is at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta or Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, where it's a sterile environment, right? And I've been to enough big bowl games; they're cool experiences, but it's not the same as being there. You could take the Ohio State-Tennessee game at the Horseshoe. It's going to be nuts. If you put that same game in Indianapolis in the Dome there, it would not be as cool. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm moving at least the quarterfinals from, again, the Sugar Bowl and whatever to on-campus thing. That's the number one thing I'm doing.
Scott and I have both said that while this isn't perfect, at least it's better than what we had, and at least it's here, and we can tweak it, and it's beautiful to see this bracket laid out. And you may have kind of alluded to this a moment ago, of these opening games here this weekend, which is the most intriguing to you, Matt?
I'm from Indiana originally, right? So IU Notre Dame is just on a personal level is really intriguing to me. I cannot tell you, I grew up about 45 minutes away from Bloomington. I cannot tell you how irrelevant IU football was from literally my entire childhood. Like, again, I grew up just down the road. Never did it occur to my family, hey, we should go over and watch an IU football game. It just wasn't a thing. So the fact that, number one, they're good, probably better than good, and they're in the playoff, and they're playing Notre Dame, that's going to be one of the biggest sporting events in the history of the state of Indiana, and that's not hyperbole. So that, just on a personal level, really jumps out to me. Penn State SMU, I think, is interesting because I want to see if James Franklin can win a big one. And forget about SMU and the ACC and the number next to them or whatever. This would be a big win. So that's one. I have to mention, though, Tennessee, Ohio State. I have zero idea what to expect from the Buckeyes. Just the way things ended against Michigan, where that was such a deflating, embarrassing, potentially humiliating, just back-breaking loss because of how much they hype up that game. To lose like that at home in the way that everything happened. I could see Ohio State just absolutely collapsing and losing, maybe even losing by double digits to Tennessee.
Matt, when I look at SMU and Indiana and Arizona State and Boise State, it kind of feels to me like some high school kids snuck into the club. Uh-oh. And I'm not sure whether or not we should card them and kick them out or we just let the chaos ensue. But of these teams that many, they're not the college football blue bloods. They're not the teams that any of us had in our 12 team at the start of the year, most of us. Which one of these do you think is actually best poised for a deep run?
I think SMU's got a chance. I like Jennings, their quarterback, a good amount. I think the defense is good enough. I think they were pretty battle-tested over the course of the year, even against Clemson, right, where they weren't very good early and found a way to make it really interesting late. I have a decent amount of faith in them. Let's not look past Boise State, though, right? Yeah. I mean, we know about their history of the Giant Killers and all that stuff, and the Statue of Liberty play against OU and all that. Ashton Jeanty is the best player in this field, right? And I'm not. It might not be close. No disrespect to like a Tyler Warren or Dylan Gabriel or one of those guys, but Ashton Jeanty is awesome. And if he is able to just almost like Ezekiel Elliott did at Ohio State, what was that, 2014, where he just dominated the last couple games and led them to a national championship. If Jeanty is able to do something like that, they certainly have a chance to make it.
Let's take a quick break with Matt, and on the other side, want to ask about some of our local teams here that are going to be bowling here within the matter of days. Stay with us. Nodpod's back after this. Here with Matt Baker from The Athletic, and Matt, a little bit more local with this line of questioning. So, we look at some of these bowl games that have local intrigue, and of course you got the Gasparilla Bowl heading our way this weekend. But it seems like for Florida that it has, I don't know, a little bit more of like a what direction is this program heading in feel to it. Like this bowl game just means a little bit more for this program in particular, for this head coach in particular, given what they've done to this point, that they're still trying to make some believers out of many Gator fans, it feels like. How do you see the Gasparilla Bowl for the Gators and how important it is?
You're exactly right. The way Florida ended the season, really from probably the Tennessee game thereabouts on. I know they lost to the Vols, but still the way they were competitive. And then obviously the winning streak at the end with LSU and Ole Miss and Florida State. The arrow is pointed up. So the question is Florida really moving in the right direction, right? Or was LSU kind of on its way down? Ole Miss maybe a little bit overrated and just kind of didn't play particularly well. And Florida State was its worst team in 50 years. So that's the question I have with Florida. Is it really looking good as it looked in the winning streak? Or were there some other circumstances in there as well? Because if Florida goes out and plays really well, DJ Lagway, throws for 350 yards or whatever it is, you can absolutely talk yourself into next year being a really big, successful turnaround season for Billy Napier and the program going in the right direction.
Yeah. The only trouble is, though, they get the same schedule.
Right,
I mean, the home
Congrats.
road games are reversed, but it's another.
Reverse, yeah.
It's almost like, wow, Billy, and he's done a great job just kind of getting everyone to buy in and getting to this point. He's exceeded most people's expectations with that brutal schedule they had, but now it's like you got to reload and go do it again. So,
well, it is. If I would have told Florida fans, okay, so Billy Napier's first game, kind of, sort of, was the Gasparilla Bowl against UCF, right? He had been hired. He wasn't actually coaching on the sidelines. If I would have told people at that game that in year 3, Billy Napier would be going 7-5 and that would be acceptable, would anyone have taken that? No, of course not. So yes, Napier saved the season, and the arrow appears to be pointed the right way, and it looks like he's got a really good, if not better than that, quarterback and a young guy to build around it and all that stuff. Let's not just kind of poo-poo the results in the way it all went either, because if in almost every circumstance, a Gator coach going 7-5 the way the first 2 seasons went, in year 3 he wouldn't be around it.
Yeah.
Heading into the season, if there was probably one coach that I didn't have any questions about, it was probably USF's Alex Golesh. He felt like he was top 3 riser, like that that USF would be clamoring to retain him at the end of the season, and if they could do that. Same thing goes for the quarterback, Byron Brown, and we reached the end of the season, and yes, they're headed to the Hawaii Bowl, and that's a nice little vacation, but I still have questions about where the program is. I have questions about what happened with Byron Brown, what that whole situation was, whether the whole thing was truly injury related. But then I just wonder if some of the luster has been knocked down a peg on Alex. I still have a ton of respect for who he is as a coach and what he's done. The last year's turnaround matters, but just what you think of him after his sophomore campaign here at USF.
I'm going to paraphrase something that Dan Mullen said when he was at Florida to kind of take it here, but it's a lot easier to go from, say, 2 wins or 1 or 2 wins to 6 or 7 wins than it is to go from 6 or 7 wins to 8 and 9 and 10, right? And that's the situation USF is kind of sort of in here. Yes, the turnaround in year 1 was fantastic. The bar was also very, very low. Your questions on Byron Brown are fair. I don't know the full story, and I hope at some point we kind of are able to see exactly what happened there, because I was extremely high on Byron Brown, like banging the table for him as, not one of the best players in the country, not that far, but certainly a group of 5-star, somebody that, you're right, maybe they were going to have to, how are we going to hang on to this guy for another year? And it didn't happen. And hopefully he's healthy and is able to turn his career around and everything going forward. But yes, the bloom is off the rose a little bit with Alex Golesh. I don't think there's another way around that. It's some fans are already talking hot seat or whatever. No, I don't think that's realistic at all. Talk to coaches in the industry; they're very high on Golesh and respect him a heck of a lot. But at a certain point, you want to see. I guess I think I wanted to see more growth, or I expected to see more growth year 1 to year 2 compared to what we saw.
Yeah. Another coach that I didn't have any real question about going into this season was in Tallahassee, and Mike Norvell, and the Seminoles go 2-10, their worst record in 50 years. I think that was the surprise of the college football season, for me at least.
Without a doubt, yeah.
So we have this restructured salary now where Norvell has agreed to take a $4.5 million haircut, and I guess that gets, instead of going to him, it goes to this fundraising campaign to help raise money for facilities and everything else a wonderful program needs. What do you read into that, Matt?
I read into it that last year was unacceptable. You look at the coaching turnover, a bunch of assistants are changing over. I don't know if all that's done yet, but obviously new offensive coordinator, new receivers coach. new D-line coach, new linebackers coach, like on and on. Last year was unacceptable and changes had to happen, right? So you're seeing some of the changes at the smaller level, at the assistant level. And I think Norvell probably needed to take some personal accountability in there as well. In a 4.5, Florida State said it was voluntary, $4.5 million contribution from his salary to a kind of a pool. I forget exactly what his contract termed up. Basically a pool where he and Florida State can figure out, okay, we got an extra $4.5 million for the football program. We need to put X here and Y here and Z over here.
Is that a tax write-off? Does he get to count that as a tax write-off? I think
somebody else has asked that to me. That's a great question.
I bet you can.
Yeah. And another part to this too is he can get the money back, right? So after starting with the 2026 season, if he wins 9 games, he gets a $750,000 bonus for the rest of his contract, which happens to be 6 years. So you add it up. If he wins 9 games from 2026 on, that $4.5 million goes back into his salary. So I think this was just a piece of accountability. And honestly, I think it was a way for him to literally buy some goodwill to the fan base. He did that in his first couple years, but obviously the way things went, there are a lot of people who are upset, himself included, and he needed to do something to show that, hey, this was on me. We all screwed up. We're going to fix this. And I'm literally, I guess not literally, but putting my money where my mouth is kind of thing.
Matt, it's a bizarre brand new chapter of college football, though, and I don't know that I saw this one coming. I mean, everybody saw the paying the players, but the fact that the coaches would essentially be paying the players out of their own salary, and they'd kind of. I'm not saying that Mike was like bullied into doing it, but maybe to save his own skin, to buy a little bit more time. He does it. It's a really bizarre chapter. This one I did not see coming, and
How much?
Where is it heading? All right. Well, Matt, are you hopping on a plane to Honolulu to cover this Hawaii Bowl?
I am not. I am staying home. I'm looking forward. I'm doing the Sugar Bowl quarterfinal in New Orleans. That's the only big bowl I've never done. So I'm looking forward to Georgia and Indiana, Notre Dame, whoever's going to win that one, and crossing that one off the list.
Very good. He is Matt Baker. You can follow him with The Athletic. Appreciate you so much. Coming up on the other side, we're going to give our picks on how we think this thing is going to go down. Our guest picker is one Kelly Ring. She's with us next.
The Kelly Ring. The
Kelly Ring. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast, Chris. This is our last pick segment of 2024. How do you feel like you've picked them overall?
I feel like I'm about 10 points above 500.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about that.
But a couple points below me. So here we go. We are going to this is our last guest picker of the calendar year, and it's pretty exciting for both of us to welcome in this guest because we didn't need to unlock the door because this person obviously knows every exit and entrance in this building.
Still has her security badge.
But it's been a few minutes since we've seen her. 37 years on air anchoring here in Tampa Bay and is now enjoying her grandbaby as much as she possibly can in retirement. The lovely Kelly Ring is our guest picker. Out from behind the Christmas tree she comes. Oh, it's great to see you, Kelly.
I love you guys. I miss you. I think about you guys so much. And guess what? I hate to say this, I am your biggest fan.
Most of our listeners do hate to say it, actually.
I listen to your podcast every week.
You're loyal.
I do.
Well, I know you shoot me a text and you say, I'm on my walk, and I just heard you say this.
Did.
In fact, your name came up recently because TJ Reeves, who was a guest picker, he just kept going on and on about how you knock it out of the ballpark with your picks. So.
That's kind of a little bit nerve-wracking, but I did my research.
Look at this. She has volumes of notes here.
So how is retirement going?
I'm so excited.
I know you're on the go all the time.
Made it. You're on the Nodpod.
I have been bugging them. High five. Because I really wanted to be on here with you
You're the first guest, I think, that's really excited about being on here. This is so strange.
That's so sad.
Usually it takes quite a bit of arm twisting.
Please,
just give us 5
I promise you, I'm enjoying retirement and I'm busy, but I love sports. I love you guys so much. So it's a perfect marriage right there.
Who do you miss the most out of the entire
Let's go ahead. Lay it out there.
No, I miss everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody asks me constantly, do you miss work? And the only thing I say to them is I miss my friends on a daily basis. Yeah. I miss, hanging out with you guys and being with you and just our life together. That's what I miss. anyway.
Invite us over for coffee, and
Okay.
we'll be glad to hang out. We'll come by every morning.
I would love to do that.
All right, so we're going to jump into this thing. And I see you have notes. You may or may not have gotten some inside intel. I believe you have some reporters that are working on your behalf to gather some of this information.
Inside sources. Or
Here,
perhaps
Maybe. I might have done some research and gone straight to the source on a few things.
yeah.
you might have called Notre Dame. I know you're close with the.
There we
people
go.
Well,
up in
my
South
husband is
Bend.
going to this game.
He is. Okay.
Let's
He's
kick
very
it off then.
nervous
Let
about
me
that.
set the table on
Oh,
this.
whoopsies.
It's the first game of the playoff. It's the one that's ushering this beautiful 12-team playoff into existence. It is the Battle of Indiana. It is number 10 Indiana paying a visit to South Bend, taking on your Fighting Irish. And this is a Friday night till 8 o'clock. Kelly, how do you see this one going down?
Oh, well, this was the easiest pick for me. Of course, we are Notre Dame. My husband went there. His dad went there. My 2 of 3 children went there. So I can't pick against Notre Dame. But I'm going to tell you some things.
Okay.
I like Indiana's coach. He's the one that said, "Google me."
Yeah,
and
Coach Sig.
And I think he's very good. But think about Indiana coming in. You know, they would love to have a home game, but of course they don't. Notre Dame does. The fact that they're kicking off the first time ever for 12 teams in a playoff at Notre Dame at the hallowed grounds.
One of those historic venues in college football, really.
It is.
Yeah.
It's going to be so cold. It might snow. My husband, I dug in there and found his
His long underwear. He's got his long
Need a few of those, Kelly.
Johns. And so I had to find those for him for his trip. It's going to be very cold, below freezing.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's the way it's going
But
to be.
these two teams are used to the cold
I know
weather.
they are,
Yeah.
but still, this is Notre Dame.
Okay.
I think Notre Dame, they have been scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
Averaging 40 points per game this year, and that's an unreal number.
Indiana's up there, though, too.
I know, they're very good. They've done great. But their ranking of the teams they've played, 67th. I found that stat.
That's true.
67th.
strength of schedule. But
So
you know
it
what Notre
doesn't-
Dame says?
No.
60th?
No.
It's about as soft
So
as
now-
Eddie's long underwear.
Which
didn't tell him he
threadbare
said
at this
that.
point. All right, so she's got
So-
Notre Dame, and it sounds like you're probably taking them to win by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, I think that they're going to cover the spread
Okay.
in this for sure. But I do think it's going to be a tight game, and Eddie's very nervous. And it's since 1898, the Indiana has not beaten Notre Dame since 1898.
That's been a minute.
There is a
Boom.
historical
That was
note
good.
for you. Okay.
Wow,
Yes.
you were
All
good.
right, Cato,
I know,
the
I
baton has been
can't-
handed off.
Can't follow that. You were prepared. I'm not going against my girl here, our number 1 fan. Yes, I think the Irish are going to roll. You know what? This Indiana story's been fun. Coach Sig, Walter Camp, Coach of the Year, brings the entire team from James Madison over, does all these amazing things, plays a questionable schedule. I just look at Kelly, the one game they played against a really strong defense, Ohio State. They had 153 yards of total offense. I think Notre Dame's defense is just about right there with Ohio State's almost that good. I don't think Curtis Rourke's going to be able to throw the ball against the Irish. I think it's kind of strength on strength on the other side of the ball. Indiana runs it really well. Notre Dame stops the run. So I just don't think Indiana's going to – wouldn't surprise me if they come out and score first and fast. Those first 15 plays are scripted, but I think Notre Dame's just going to have too much, and I think they're going to cover that 7-point spread, and the Irish are going to usher in the playoff era with a win at home.
Awesome.
It is a battle for the soul of Indiana. It is the crossroads in the crossroads of America. But it is the Hoosier State, lest we forget what Indiana has done this year. They're a tempo team. They like to get that thing going. You mentioned the cold weather. I'm not Paul Delgado, nor do I claim to be, except when I'm out at a restaurant. I made them drop his name. But I think that the cold weather is going to play a factor in slowing this team down. Notre
Which
Dame's
team?
It's going to slow Indiana's high pace, their tempo down a little bit. But I just think this team finds a way as well. And this is what it's all about to me. It's like you're going into the most iconic venue, into South Bend. This is going to be ridiculously cold weather, and it's only the strong that survive. And I think it's going to be a white knuckler. I think it's going to be a close game throughout.
Yes, give us a close one.
But in the end, I do think that the combo of Love and Price are going to be able to run the ball for Notre Dame, and I think they edge it out. But I do think Indiana closes it within 7.
Okay,
so I'm going to say the Hoosiers and the points, but I'm picking Notre Dame to win the actual game. So there we go. I think it's going to be a great one right out of the chutes. All right, here we go. Game number 2. It's the 11th seeded SMU Mustangs taking on Penn State. Penn State, the 6th seed, and an 8.5-point favorite. This one in Happy Valley. Who's going to be leaving happy?
Well, it's SMU coming off that devastating loss. Yeah. That was an amazing game. Oh my goodness! Yeah. And so I think that is really hard. They were 11-2, and so I mean they had a really good season. But Penn State also coming off a tough loss in their conference game. So I think this is the only one that I was really, well, I shouldn't say that ahead of time. I was torn. I almost picked SMU. The problem is it's going to be a whiteout. SMU almost lost to Duke. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And so that, I was like, okay, they're going into the cold. SMU is not used to that. But I wanted to pick SMU, but I just can't. So I'm going to pick Penn State, but I say that SMU covers the spread.
Okay.
So it's going to be a close one. What do you like?
SMU, Kelly, let's admit this would be a better matchup if it was Alabama. It'd be so much better if this was Alabama and Penn State.
But I heard you last week and you said it was okay.
No, it was fair. It was fair. I would say they made the right decision, but this would be a better game if it was Alabama. I don't think SMU belongs here. Penn State's offense seems to be clicking at the right time. Drew Aller's playing his best football of the season right now. I'm just left with that impression of how they move the ball against a pretty good Oregon defense up and down the field in that Big Ten championship game. And I don't think SMU's offense is going to be able to move the ball on a Penn State defense that outside of that Oregon game has been really good. And I think, unlike the Indiana-Notre Dame game, where those are two cold weather teams, I think this cold weather at Happy Valley is going to be kind of a problem for SMU and Kevin Jennings there. And what does James Franklin do? He beats up on the teams he's supposed to beat and loses against tougher opponents. So they're going to, I think this is maybe my favorite pick, Penn State to cover that 8.5-point spread.
But he does have a problem in big games, and this is the biggest game
you could
that
say.
he's been a part of here. So there is some concern in that regard, but I just don't see where SMU has any advantage. You just stack these two teams side by side. I think Penn State wins just about every category. SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, a little turnover prone. That's what Penn State's defense does. They jar the ball free. They force interceptions. They got 24 turnovers this season. I don't think it's really actually that close. I think Penn State wins handily. All right, we have number 12 Clemson at Austin, Texas, taking on those Texas Longhorns. 5th-ranked Texas, 11.5-point favorites at home. Kelly, who's taking it?
These teams have never played before, which I was
That's
really
crazy,
surprised.
Right?
Yes.
And they both were orange.
I know.
You think
that's
it's
right.
a
Well,
clash.
kind of burnt orange. Yeah. But I have always liked Texas all year. I'm from Arkansas originally, and I've always loved Texas. They're big. Their defense is amazing. Their offense is very strong. So I'm picking them for sure. I think they will cover the spread. Clemson has Dabo Swinney. He's amazing. He always comes through. He's going to give them a hard game. I think it's going to be a showdown, if you will. But I think Texas is going to win because of their defense, and they're so big, and I just think that's what's going to happen.
A Texas showdown.
I think you nailed it. Did you know that Clemson's quarterback, Cade Klubnik, is from Austin, Texas?
I heard that.
A little homecoming for old Cade.
Yeah, and he better prove himself, because if he doesn't come out and play well in the beginning, then they're going to be done.
I think it's going to be a bad homecoming for him, Kelly. I think with Clemson's offensive line issues and this Texas, you mentioned it, the Texas defense, that pass rush is for real. I think it could be a long day for Clemson. Behind the chains a lot because they're getting sacked, they're losing, they're having to play from behind. So maybe I'm pushing a narrative here that there should be no ACC team in this playoff. Maybe that's what I'm projecting here, but I think Texas is going to take care of business here. So I'm going to take Texas to cover the points there.
Yeah. Texas's offense has been stifled here in the last couple of games. But I think Georgia, that was one of them. But I think they do get over the hump. Quinn Ewers and company. I think they're actually going to be able to run the ball pretty effectively against Clemson this weekend. Clemson's been a great story to make it to this point. You know, the Dabo Swinney, people, a little bit of a polarizing figure, but those that love him love to see the fact that he's back here in the national spotlight. I just think it's going to be a quick visit to that spotlight, and I think Texas actually beats the brakes off of them.
Oh, is this your favorite pick? Well, maybe you're not there yet. You don't have to say.
I have a couple problems with two of these games, as you can see here. These last two, I think they're going to be decisive. I think this will be even more. Yeah. I think Texas is going to beat Clemson Yeah, all the way back home. Yep.
Right.
All right, here we go. Tennessee, Ohio State. This is your 9-8 matchup. The winner goes on to face my Oregon Ducks. This is an 8 o'clock kick under the lights in the Horseshoe. All right? Kelly, what do you like?
Well, I have to come right out and say I'm not a big Ryan Day fan.
I don't think Ohio State fans are big Ryan Day
I know.
fan, right?
Well,
they're on the fence right now.
It has nothing to do with anything football related. He was so mean to Lou Holtz. Remember last year when he said all those things that were negative about Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz is old, and I just thought that was so inappropriate, and I've not ever liked him. But Ohio State.
Well, he does look like a villain in just about any bad guy movie, right?
It's the dyed beard, I think. Yes.
I think it's going to be, Tennessee is being overlooked in these playoffs, though. They've had a good team. They've played very hard. Their losses have been close, if I did my research right. So I think that still Ohio State's going to win. And I don't know. I don't really think they're going to cover the loss. I really didn't analyze that enough to
Do you think
understand.
Tennessee is less? Do you think the margin's less than a touchdown?
Yes, I think it's less than a touchdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you're going to take Tennessee in the points then?
I'm taking Tennessee in the points, but I think that Ohio State will win because it's cold. Even though Tennessee is cold, I mean, we've been there. It's cold.
Sure, it gets cold in Knoxville.
It's not like they're not used to cold weather. No. And I also think that they've sold a lot of tickets to Tennessee fans. You know, when you're looking at the game, 102,000 people.
That's a big horseshoe.
It's very, very big. But I think that still Ohio State's going to win because they're playing for Ryan Day's job. They're going to feel the pressure, so we'll see.
You brought up. I'm so glad.
There's a lot of things.
Two things you brought up there, and maybe we'll talk about this later. But I do think Ryan Day could be playing for his job. Mm-hmm. And secondly, the home field advantage. According to SeatGeek, 42% of tickets have been gobbled up by Vols fans. 37% on StubHub. You're going to look at that stadium and see a lot of orange in there, and students are at home for Christmas break. So I don't know that the home field's going to be as big as it usually is. Anyway, I'm going with Kelly again. I think Tennessee is – I don't think the Buckeyes have faced a defense as good as Tennessee's this season. And two things you need to win on the road, good defense and a strong running game. Tennessee certainly has that with Dylan Sampson. And Michigan kind of gave them the blueprint. You slow the game down, you run it, and you make them make the mistakes, right? So I'm not going to take Tennessee for an outright upset. Yeah, I am. I'm going to take Tennessee for an outright upset.
There you go.
That's exciting.
I think it's the best game in the opening round. The Buckeyes certainly have to get the stank up off them after that loss to Michigan. And to your point, yes, they got dragged down into the muck and the mire, and I think Tennessee can do that just as well as Michigan. The only issue is that Tennessee has maybe one of the most balanced offensive attacks in college football, and so I think they'll be able to actually score the football. And so for that reason, this is my one upset of the opening round. I have Tennessee handing it to Ryan Day, the archetype of every villain that we see in every bad movie. Yes, so so we got a true heavyweight bout in round two. We got the Vols and we got the Ducks.
We all three just picked Tennessee, which means
probably going to be Ohio State's win. All right, here we go. One in the NFL. We'll make this one quick. We're running out of time. Bucks, 4-point favorites as they head to Dallas Sunday night to take on those Cowboys.
Well, I'm going to go for the Bucks because they're on a 5-game win streak?
They're on a 4-game win streak, but if they win on Sunday,
so they're doing great. Dallas is also won 3 of 4, I guess, in the past 4 games. They've won
played
3 or
better.
4. But I think that the way we're playing, the way we played against the Chargers was amazing. Baker Mayfield, in my mind, can do no wrong. When I saw him running down the field, blocking for the runner in a couple of games ago, I was so proud of him. So I'm going for the Bucks, and I think they'll cover the spread.
There you go.
All right, Kelly, I'm not picking against the Bucks either. They're on a heater. They know they've got to stay a game ahead of the Falcons. Got to do. I know the Cowboys still have some life, but I think the Bucks running game is the real key here. We've rushed for over 180 yards in our last 5 games. That's been the big difference to me, even though Baker has played well. And the Cowboys are 28th in rush defense. So give me the Bucks to cover the 4 points.
To your point, I picked against the Bucks last week. I regret making that decision. And every time I pick against them, they prove me to be an idiot. So I don't know what to do. They do need this game. So for that reason, I'm tempted to to pick the Cowboys, but I just can't do it. I'm going to say the Bucs on the road, get it done, man. This team is they're feeling it right now. They're peaking. The offense, you talk about balance. I mean, this team has it top 5 in both run and pass in the NFL. So here we go. Make it 5 in a row. Buccaneers.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Now just keep your fingers crossed for another Atlanta. They need to start another losing streak for them. It's been such a pleasure to have you on our podcast. Kelly Ring. There's only one, and it's wonderful to have you. I know you're busy with family and doing all kinds of wonderful things in retirement, but to carve a little time out for us.
Well, I'm very honored that you invited me on your fabulous podcast.
You were so good. You were great.
Now, if you just shellacked us in picks, Kelly, I'm not sure how quickly we're going to be able to get you back.
Huggy hugs. I'm very proud of you guys. You're doing a great job. You look fabulous on TV, and you've made Mama Bear proud. So
you know what I miss this time of year? Mama Bear's ginger Christmas cookies.
Where
are the Christmas cookies?
I was going to bring them for you, but I'm still going to do it next week because I didn't have time to go to the grocery store.
I know you're busy. You got the grandbaby and everything.
Yeah.
And great Kelly Ring, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on the Nodpod. Stick around on the other side. It's our fun block with BK after this. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. All right, it's the last time this year we're going to be able to dig through that old, unreliable rag, the Nodpod Gazette.
And the way print journalism is, we don't know. It might be the last time we ever see it.
That's true. They may not come back from Christmas break. All right, BK, come on back in. You have dialed up some wonderful headlines for us, and we are looking forward to it.
Fresh off the press, and what you're going to do?
Hot off the press.
Yes. Tell me if they're real or fake, okay?
Real or fake, okay.
Yeah, they may all be real. They all may be fake. They may be a mixture. You ready for the first one?
Could you spell that out any more clearly? All right. It's not a very complicated direction.
Could I have one?
Let's do it.
Right? This is the Rollins. After one Christmas and on a whim, they decided to plant their Christmas tree out in the front yard. That was back in 1979, guys. Today, that tree has grown to over 52 feet tall and becoming an attraction for the small English neighborhood. The 80-year-old couple admits it's a challenge, not to mention expensive, to maintain this fabulous fir, but says it's worth it seeing the smiles on everyone's faces. Is that real or fake?
Now, question.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can give this away. Is the picture a real picture that...
that is actually you and Chris on the newspaper, yes.
Okay.
No, we know that, but it's the picture.
Well, no, but I guess he couldn't give that away. Because if it was the real picture, then obviously that would be... But we wouldn't know. Some of the details of the story could be off the mark a little bit. That seems totally reasonable because we worked with someone who would take their Christmas tree every year, and then when they were done with it, they would plant it in the backyard.
Who is that?
Take one guess. Now retired.
Brian King?
No, Brian's here.
Oh.
Currently retired.
Kelly Ring.
No.
Our
Gosh! Jeff Tewksbury.
Oh, Tewks.
Yeah,
well,
you knew that, right, BK?
I think so.
He would buy potted Christmas trees, and then when he was done with them, he would plant them in his backyard.
Well, that does make perfect sense.
So he's got a ton of Christmas trees in his backyard. So I think that makes sense, and that may be the very picture. I think it's a wonderful tradition.
Yeah, I think it's real too. My Aunt Doris, who's actually my great aunt, had the same thing going on, and that thing grew proud and huge, and they had to get up ladders and everything to put lights on it. And
did you get up there and help Doris
never,
out?
Never, not once. I don't like anything over 8 feet of height, but she did a great job with bad hip and all. And
you made old Aunt Doris get up there on the ladder.
She insisted, Scott.
Really?
That was her baby. Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think it's true. Yeah.
It is absolutely true.
Okay.
So you can plant a tree
for your tomorrow.
Well, no, it has to be a potted Christmas tree. So you can buy those too. Obviously, you can't. I don't believe there's a way you can regrow.
I feel like
roots.
Once you've chopped its root system off.
See, that's what I was thinking.
Although there are plants where you can add some root growth powder on the bottom there, and then they can regrow.
They're doing
roots.
wonders in the root medicine industry.
It's quite
these days.
Not a profitable event.
Yeah, that is true. Good job, guys, on that one. Okay, here's the next headline. The fate of the house in the famed movie Christmas Story, you all know this movie, hangs in the balance. The Cleveland City Council voted last month to move forward with a plan to clear the cherished landmark and its adjacent properties surrounding the 3-story Victorian home sometime next year. City officials acknowledged the sentimental value attached to Ralphie's home, but says the decision was made in the best interest of the community and plans to incorporate elements of the film in the proposed project. So they're tearing down the house of Christmas Story, man.
I mean, this feels like a real story.
It sounded
I think
real.
it's a bad move, unless you were able to, you could take these homes off the,
foundation and move them.
and then you could move it into some time. I don't know what the setup would be, but the movie's good. But it's I don't know. Real estate values are so important these days.
They are.
That,
and how many people are coming through? This is in Cleveland, right?
Cleveland, yeah.
How many people are planning a vacation to Cleveland to go see the Ralphie house?
Yeah. Isn't the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland?
Yes. There are other things to do there.
Is Ron Mullen here?
He's in audio.
Okay. Ron, is there any way that you can give a bat signal? Is this a true story or a fake story? You would know. He's from Ohio.
He says he's not sure.
He
has
sure.
one chance to help us.
That was my lifeline.
He has one chance, and he says not sure.
Right, well,
I'm gonna go real. Although I think it's a bad move to tear it down, but I think probably the furnace. You remember how the furnace gave the dad such trouble, and it was it's a fire hazard. That's why they're tearing it down.
Yeah, it's a hazard. I'm gonna say it's true as well.
It's absolutely false.
Whoa.
Oh, it's standing proud. Yeah, it's absolutely false.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't tear it down, so I'm glad that's false.
But I think you're giving the Cleveland City Council an idea here. So.
Uh-oh.
And Jeff Tewksbury actually took a vacation trip to that house.
Did he really?
Years ago, he did.
Did he carry a Christmas tree?
I love that there's a Tukes thread going on. Let's see if we can tie Tukes into this last.
Okay. Here we go. In Indiana's couple's long-term investment has finally matured. Sean and Bruce Carpenter planted 5,000 firs over a decade ago, thinking that by the time the Christmas trees had fully grown, their grandchildren would be ready for college, and they then could sell the trees to offset the cost of that college. That time is now. Over 1,000 trees of that original 5,000 remain, and they're up for sale. And given the average cost of a Christmas tree, they expect to have about $5,000 each for their 8 grandchildren. Is that true or false?
5,000. 1,000 trees.
That might get you through community college, but I don't know if that's going to help.
1,000 trees survived the planting.
These trees go for between $50 and $80. Probably.
Okay, so if they're doing, let's do 80. Let's say it's high end. So I don't know how much. Yeah, what kind of college are they getting into?
Yeah,
they just said each kid gets a split.
Well, I think it was just an investment. It was a down payment.
So they got $80,000. I mean, that would help.
They were planting a seed.
$80,000. If that's what it worked out to, if they sold them for $80 a piece, 1,000 trees, $80,000 would help.
What's the ROI on that though? Because think about all the real estate you're giving up to devote to Christmas trees. But Christmas trees, how long ago was this?
This was over a decade ago.
How long do they take to grow?
It takes them about 10 years to grow to.
Really?
Yeah, to grow to Christmas. You got to baby those things.
You're saying this as if you have done some research.
I have a friend, my former.
Did you think about investing? A little side business?
My former 4th grade teacher grows Christmas trees now.
Really?
Yeah.
Is her name Miss Tewksbury?
Wade Farms. Shout out Miss Wade. Yeah, it takes a while to get them up to Christmas tree size, but.
Okay. I think it's true. This doesn't sound like a big.
Yeah. The Nodpod Gazette has a tree theme. Is it because the Gazette's made out of paper?
It is.
Paper comes from trees?
Yeah.
I'm going to go true as well.
What we need to do is invest in a tree field so that we can keep the Nodpod Gazette in circulation.
Yeah. And invest in an ink factory, too.
If we don't, it's going away.
It is true.
It is true.
But how goofy is that hey, we got grandchildren coming in. Let's find some way to fund their education. Let's build a whole lot of trees.
My guess is it's probably not the first time they got into the tree biz.
And they
probably had some type of,
They lost 80% of it.
I was going to question their tree, I don't know if this is the right word, husbandry. They lost 4,000 of their 5,000 trees. I wondered, where did they plant these?
They need water.
Oh. They're not growing too well here in this acidic soil.
Yes. Here in Florida, pine trees, I don't know.
All right.
Okay, we got another one?
We got one more here. Guys, the IRS could be watching your office Christmas party. Oh boy. The IRS recently announced a renewed focus on gifts given at office parties, which also include those white elephants and secret Santas, signaling a crackdown on potential tax evasion. Wow. The move comes after the IRS aims to close loopholes and address potential abuses in the tax system. Get this, employers are urged to be more vigilant in reporting and documenting gifts given during office parties. And employees, on the other hand, must report any gift I know received to get the compliance and tax resolutions. True or false?
It's so boring.
I don't know.
That it has to be true.
I feel like you just read us an IRS form.
Yeah. So basically, that people are giving lavish gifts away as like maybe it's like a bonus actually.
Yeah.
Like it's a way to kind of get around it, you know.
Yeah.
Don't have to pay taxes on it, something like that. I like the idea of it, and I'd like to tell my bosses I'm open to receiving any type of Christmas gift.
And I will not fill out this 1041.
Absolutely no. It's a secret between me and you.
Yeah.
And everybody that watches our show. I think it's true. I think it's real. I said all 4 of these stories are true, and I'm gonna
sticking with
I'm
it.
gonna stick with it.
Yeah, man. Because if Brian made that up, that would have been painful to make up. He's a crafty writer, a creative writer. So I'm gonna go true as well.
It's false. It's absolutely false.
You did? You made that up?
Yeah.
You old.
But I sit there and think if our boss Jeff Maloney gave us all cars, surely we'd have to write that off.
Yeah. I'm more interested in the side headline. Scott believes that eggnog should be a summer drink. What are your eggnog thoughts?
I don't have many, and I don't really drink it. I used to love it as a child, and now I do buy it. My son loves it. I bought like one of the the small, what is the half
carton, a little half carton,
a little carton,
a little halfer.
He drank like half of it, and then it went bad. Stinky eggnog in the fridge, so I just tossed it out.
We slugged down some of the Evan Williams variety over Thanksgiving.
Okay.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's made for adults.
Yeah.
Are you a big eggnog?
I have never had eggnog in my entire life.
What?
Never have.
Yeah, well, don't start now.
No.
You've made it this far.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a peppermint snot rocket.
Yeah.
It's a good name for a fantasy football team.
The peppermint snot rockets. Undefeated. All right.
Good job, guys.
As is this segment. Undefeated. Thank you so much, BK. Wow, what a show. I mean, we had Matt Baker. We had Kelly Ring. And we discussed Tukes.
Several times. And trees. A lot of tree knowledge.
Yeah, a lot of college football to get to, and we'll get to watching it next week. Should we tease ahead?
We should.
Next week is the Naughties, the second annual Naughty Awards. So we're gonna recap the year that was.
Hand out some awards and talk about some regrets.
Probably. You have a lot more. Yeah. Until the next time we're on, there are no off days.